Hello, hello, and happy whatever today is, Thursday to you all. Hope you're doing awesome. Hope you're doing awesome. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome. It's always nice to come into the chat and to start on time and to already have people like you that are just waiting here. It's so cool to see. I remember the days before you. I remember the days when I would hop into chat and it would be zero. And I would wait an indefinite amount of time waiting for one person, one lone survivor to show up that might give a rip. And look at us now. We always have a few people in, and so thank you for being here. How cool is that? I'm throwing you off. Yeah, that is fair. That's fair. Usually I'm not very timely, but I'm trying to be. Very, very timely. What a nice and pleasant evening, isn't it, Nelson? What a nice and pleasant evening. Here on the Thursday before spring break, baby. Feeling good, feeling good. It's a good day. It's a good day. Well, tonight we've got a lot to cover, and not a lot of time to do it in. I mean, we got as long as we want here. But I am so excited to be playing some episode Gladio. Episode Gladio, everybody. Because Episode Gladio is one of my favorite DLCs. I go back and forth between this and Ignis. I like Prompto a lot too. It's just different, but I love it. If I only spent 6 hours thinking about 17th century European Giro. Yep, that sounds about right, Nelson. Yeah. Oh man, oh man. No, don't. Oh man, it made me want to go back. I don't care. I want to play it now because that's what we do in my class. I am aware that you suggest I play after I beat the game. You don't know me, computer. Ah, there we go. Look at this. You like Ignis the most? Yeah. Hey, Leon, what's up? Good. I'm glad that you're playing 15. Good. So, tonight, everybody, as we get started, I want to talk a little bit on the front end to give you a lens through which to think about episode Gladiolus. But for those of you that are tuning in for the first time or watching the VOD, hey, welcome. What's up? My name is ProfNoctis, Wade in real life, or Dr. Langer, as some call me. But we are... I'm an actual university teacher at the university level, and I teach religion and religious studies, and I do it through video games. So tonight we're going to be engaging in one of my actual classes, which is Judeo-Christian Kingship or Sacral Kingship through Final Fantasy 15. And tonight we are doing a little bit of a side stream in that we are exploring the story of episode Gladiolus. What does Gladio do when he is off with by himself after he leaves the party? And this is the story of that. So chat, I gave you several readings to go through for tonight regarding episode Gladio as well as chapter 9, and I hope to get to chapter 8. I hope to get to chapter 8 tonight, but it's so brief and there's only a few things that we would do. I may save it and really just focus on Gladio. It just depends on how quickly we get through this. But here's what I'd like for you to think about tonight. All of episode Gladio is a side story. It was not contained in the original game. And our question is, well, we know that this isn't going to be central to understanding the plot of the game, but what does it add to the plot of the game? That's going to be our major research question tonight. So what does episode Gladiolus add to the plot of Noctis's story? That's going to be a really big question for us tonight. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a spoiler. Not much of a spoiler, I guess, but just a separate lens. With episode Gladiolus... Oh, Racy, thank you so much for the sub. With episode Gladiolus, we are going to be exploring the world of Mesopotamian deities. We're going to be looking at non-Hebrew-centric deities that existed during the days of the Hebrews, and especially in the realm of Babylon. So we are going to be looking at that. And specifically, we're going to be looking at an ancient myth called the Epic of Gilgamesh. Now, how many of you in the chat have read the Epic of Gilgamesh before? I love the Epic of Gilgamesh. In fact, there is a on Discord, excuse me, on in the comments or the description of this YouTube video, actually. In the description of this YouTube video, I have a recommended materials and reading list. And if you're interested in learning more about anything related to this stream or any of that sort of stuff, I would encourage you to check out that reading list. I've provided some Amazon links. You should know that I am an Amazon affiliate, and so if you were to purchase one of these resources through that, I would get a little bit of a portion of that. In fact, Streamlabs just announced it. If you're enjoying tonight's lecture, I want to suggest to you my favorite version of the Epic of Gilgamesh. It is Stephen Mitchell's masterful translation called the Epic of Gilgamesh. It is the most readable, most enjoyable version of the Epic of Gilgamesh. I actually use it when I teach Western classics, which shockingly I do teach a class on Western classics. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, I cannot recommend that enough, because we're not going to go through the entire book of the story of the Epic of Gilgamesh, but we are going to hit a few core pieces tonight. Essentially, the story of Gilgamesh is this. He was a king of Uruk, and he also had an issue of pride. And so the gods of the day, the deities, decided that they were going to create someone in their likeness, really, to go and contend with him. And this was a beast of a man named Enkidu. And Enkidu would be a rival to Gilgamesh. And so they bred him, they trained him, they formed him from the earth. They gave him this great divine knowledge, and it's amazing the things that they did. But they need to, essentially Enkidu is being grown to take on Gilgamesh. Well, they do. They have an epic wrestling match. Gilgamesh wins. And wouldn't you know it, just like kids on a school playground, they end up becoming best friends. And we have the story of Gilgamesh and Enkidu traveling together. And I'll get a little bit more into that story as we go through the story of episode Gladio tonight. So that's kind of the lens that we're going through. Leon, your feelings of gameplay has changed slightly from the launch version, but your Luna perspective of Luna has not changed. It's not the best romance in the series, and I don't think it's supposed to be. I think Leon, you're dead on. It's not a good romance, but it is an exceptional story of a king and his prophet. And we're going to talk about that not tonight, but a week from Tuesday when we do Chapter 9. Next week is spring break, so I'm not going to be streaming. I'll have some Chronicles of Rebirth, but coming out next week, 2 episodes of that. But we will do Chapter 9, which is all about Luna, on that Tuesday, and it's going to be amazing. Tonight, everybody, remember that we are only going to talk about episode Gladio and chapters 1 through 8. Up to this point, we do want to make sure that we are spoiler-free for our friends that are in my actual class. Even though this is an older game, it's new to them. And with that, why don't we go ahead and get started, shall we? This DLC does have the best music. I will absolutely agree with that. And with that, let us begin. We're going to play on normal. Maybe that's a little too confident in my abilities, especially since I've been playing the crap out of Rebirth, and the controls are a little different here. No, it's okay, Leon. It's okay. My bet is that tonight they're probably out on a place called The Strip, going to enjoy themselves, which I fully hope that they do, because it is the Thursday before spring break. And so I hope that they'll go and have a good time tonight and not worry too much about class and stuff. Yeah, I do want that. But they will be watching the VOD. Let's watch together.
I'm stuffed. My compliments to the chef.
My pleasure.
Agreed, Smith.
Did you enjoy your time with the Marshal?
Mm-hmm.
So, what's that thing on your face?
This?
Yeah, X marks the spot.
That's just a scratch. The other guy got off a lot worse.
Worse than looking like some kind of thug?
Speaking of which, who was this other guy?
They call him the Blade Master.
The Blade Master. It's a heck of a scratch you got. We don't need the combat tutorial. No, remind me of that if I die.
Gladio?
Yeah, who do you think it is?
Catch you at a bad time.
Are you here yet?
Yeah, I'm at the Crow's Nest.
Good. Thanks for agreeing to meet with me.
Sure.
So, are you ready to move out?
Of course. What about you? Are you mentally prepared?
It's ready.
Of course.
As ready as I'll ever
Right
be.
over.
Here's the
About
Talpa
time.
rest area. We'll be there a little later tonight, actually. Hopefully.
What'll it be?
Just the water's fine. Thanks.
Allow me to ask you once more. Are you sure you're ready to take on the Blade Master?
I went up against the High Commander and got my ass handed to me. I didn't stand a chance. And I never will unless I get more power.
Then answer my question. Are you ready or not?
You think I would have called you here if I weren't?
So you're ready to face death. Gilgamesh awaits challengers in the deepest recesses of those ruins. It's been 30 years since we uncovered the caves. We've sent countless expeditions, but all of our efforts have afforded us no rewards. And no survivors.
No survivors.
Except for you. You undertook the trial, and you made it back alive. Barely.
Let's move.
So everybody, in addition to understanding Gladio, we are going to learn a lot about Kor tonight. Kor the
Tell
Immortal.
your friends why you were taking off?
Just said it was business. Didn't want him getting all worried about me.
Or knowing your pride took a beating.
All right, I've got this. No turning back now.
So chat, we're going to be doing a lot of environmental storytelling in this particular chapter. So I want you to take note of the enemies, the location, the aesthetics all around us. Here you can see some bodies fairly gruesomely hung. We have a sword right through this guy's, what appears to be his Achilles tendon, hanging on the wall. Here we've got through the chest, decapitated. No, his head's hanging down there. And then here, just guys pinned to the wall. Absolutely insane stuff. Yeah, you love the caves minus the bodies. Yeah. So take special note of the kind of things that we're going to be seeing here. Before we do that, I am going to change the control type really quick just to make sure I'm in type C. Good, good, good. Okay. A little morbid, Kuruai.
You're alive.
Not for long.
remain, clinging to the vestiges of our past.
Why?
To test those determined to become the King's shield, and prepare them to inherit the power they pursue.
The Blade Master's men have sworn their loyalty both before and beyond the grave, scaring off the unworthy.
Then they'd better prepare for disappointment. I don't scare easy.
Big Jack Reacher vibes from Gladio tonight. So, Chad, I mean, that's a big thing that we just heard Gilgamesh's kind of speech over Gladio here, saying, you know, we are essentially the ghosts of those that have failed in the past, and this is going to be a test for Gladio. So if this is a trial for Gladio, it's going to do two things, right? A trial always, number one, test the heart and the ability of a king. Secondly, it's going to increase their reputation. So if Gladio is able to overcome this, then that's certainly going to designate him as quite a shield of the king. That's an important step in all of this. There we go. Good, good, good. And let's go. Mosey on down here. Make sure we get these items. Stock up on potions, you know.
Only way to go is down.
The good news here is that it's really tough to get lost here. And now we have something called Brunstormer, which is definitely a take on Midgardsormr, which is from Norse mythology, kind of like a world serpent of sorts. But in this case, Brunstormer is a guard of the underworld. We've been fighting some kind of zombie-esque enemies so far. Well, this serpent is meant to be kind of like the guard of that next world, of this underworld sort of place. No, don't shatter my shield.
It's all yours, Marshal. Well, don't mind if I do.
Oh, I missed the second part. Dang it. I keep thinking I can stagger him, but I cannot. Got him. First try, baby. All right, key dialogue. Let's listen. He nearly did, Kurai.
You come to prove yourself worthy of my mantle?
I do. I am here to undertake the trial of Gilgamesh.
And what is it you hope to glean?
Power. And you're gonna give it to me.
All right, Glady.
Is that so?
Oh, it's so.
Ready or not.
Chat, this is an unbeatable boss, so.
Brute force alone does little to impress. Only he who possesses both muscle and metal of equal caliber deserves the honor of fighting beside the chosen king as his sworn shield.
You saying I don't?
Just like with Ravis.
A great evil threatens the people of your world. It is but the King of Kings and his shield who can safeguard their lives. All those unworthy or unwilling to rise to the task meet their end here, by my blade.
I ain't meeting mine anytime soon. This trial hasn't even begun.
If you do not fear death, then go forth with reckless abandon, and prove your worth.
You are ready for this.
In that case, let the trials begin.
So the Blade Master.
He's a master of blades.
Ha!
What? Were you expecting something profound?
That's pretty good. The Blade Master. Oh, he's a master of blades. Oh, really? You don't say. There we go. So that's our introduction to Gilgamesh so far. I will tell you, it's an interesting riff because instead of Gilgamesh being a king in this, he is testing shields. And the question is, why? Why would someone who is known for their kingship in mythology be reinterpreted as a shield of a king? That's one of our questions for tonight.
Time to take a load off. Might as well take a break.
Might as well. Ah, so peaceful. Just hanging out with Core, my best buddy. And we are going to save our progress because we don't know how good we're going to be here. At the campfires, we're going to hear a little bit about Core.
He's here to train you. He's here to test you. He won't go easy on you just because you join the Crown's Guard.
So, no mercy for newbies like me.
That's right. Tell me more.
So what? The weak aren't worthy of serving as shield?
In his eyes, the weak aren't worthy of living. All of them are fools, punished for aspiring beyond their station.
Him and his cup noodles.
I was a fool back then, too. And I was punished.
But you weren't killed. Maybe you weren't worthy of serving as shield. But he must have seen you as worthy of living.
Maybe he did, maybe he didn't.
Let's go.
Let's go. So you hear that chat. In this first little segment, we discover that Core undertook this same trial 30 some odd years ago, right? We know that Core is 35 years old. He undertook this when he was 15 years old. And I think that that's an incredible sort of story for him. And for whatever reason, he's still alive. He's still alive. We're going to discuss that a little bit further in a future
Keep your
campground.
eyes and ears open.
Done and done.
So here we have thunder bombs, and we have more skeletons. Ooh, man, I gotta get better at blocking, that's for sure.
Just like I taught you. Ready to go.
Soul of Fortitude. Oh man, Leon, I love the in-game ads. They're so fun.
Too slow.
I know a lot of people that don't have a tolerance for that sort of thing because it kind of breaks their immersion. It doesn't really do it for me. I just really enjoy what they've done with this game overall. But again, like, it is an odd Final Fantasy, I will say. I love the Coleman camping gear, personally.
Your skill is impressive. You may have the strength to defeat the darkness, but do you have the spirit to survive these trials?
A solid question. Okay, and now we're hitting the nail on the head a little bit harder with Reapers next. So clearly we're in an underworld sort of thing. So the question is, why are we going into the underworld? Why is it important for Gladio to go into... why is it important for Gladio to go into the underworld to face all of these things? This is a key question, because we're not necessarily just thinking about Gladio's story here. We're thinking about Gladio as it relates to Noctis. This is both a critique of this game, Final Fantasy 15, and one of its greatest strengths. The story of Final Fantasy 15 is not the story of Gladio, Ignis, and Prompto. It's not the story of Luna. It's not the story of anyone else. It is the story of Noctis. And therefore, every side character, we have to ask the question, what do we know about these side characters, and why is it important for us to know this thing so that we can understand Noctis's story better? Leon, yeah, they did change it from Versus. It is not the same as Versus. You're going to get this proven to you in just a minute. So, let's kill these Reapers. Oh my goodness, block better. Yeah, he's the youngest to ever undertake it, and he almost made it, but ultimately he did not. Hey, Goddess, thank you for the lurk. Always appreciate it. Oh. That may be overkill, but, you know, whatever. You should dodge better. Dodge better, children. Yeah, he does. Yeah, again, Final Fantasy is fairly well known for aging their 30-year-olds too much. Like Sid Highwind is 32 years old. What's up, Xeranis? How you doing? You come up with a new recipe? Heck of an entrance. Coca-Cola ad and Parasite Eve. Yeah. Oh man, what a game. I love that Parasite Eve. Man, I need to revisit Parasite Eve as an adult. Sid Highwind is 32. Sid Highwind is 32. Now, Sid in Final Fantasy 16 is older. And Sid in this game is even older. Okay, let's dive in.
What's this?
A trial chamber. The hand-holding stops.
Right on, Leon. 32 is a good age. Enjoy it. What's up, linguistic dragon? How you doing? Yeah, 7 is 32. Yeah. Oh, there's going to be some Epic of Gilgamesh. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. So if you're just hopping in the chat, everybody, I am talking about the Epic of Gilgamesh tonight. And specifically, we're talking about... We're talking specifically about a series of Mesopotamian gods, deities, and entities that influenced the religious atmosphere during the days of sacral kingship. I'm getting murked by Nergal over here. Let's kill these guys.
Try this.
Well, Clive starts out young. So chat, let me stop here for just a second so that we can kind of chat about it. This entity that we are fighting right now is known as Nergal, okay? I'm going to stop right now because I don't want to kill him, so I want you to see him. Yeah, I want you to see him really well with this lens that I'm about to give you. So Nergal is a Mesopotamian god. We know that much. But he's particularly in charge. And anytime I share something like this, I'm not saying that this is the exact same deity or representation, but my question is always, why would they select this entity to be in this game, right? Whether or not they're riffing on it or reimagining it, retelling it, why would they select him? So here's what we know about Nergal. I'm taking this straight off of Wikipedia because it's the best, easiest way of describing it without me like rambling on and on and on. So here's what it says. Nergal's a Mesopotamian god worshipped through all periods of Mesopotamian history from early dynastic to Neo-Babylonian times. So it's fair to call this a Babylonian god, with a few attestations indicating that his cult survived on into later periods. He was primarily, check this, primarily associated with war, disease, and death, and has been described as the god of inflicted death. So, this is a god of inflicted death, of plague, and of disease. Something that perhaps Gladio should learn about. Interesting stuff, right? Next, he reigned over Ker, which is also the Mesopotamian underworld. So he's a ruler of the underworld, and depending on the myth, either on behalf of his parents, Enlil and Ninlil, which are two big Mesopotamian gods. You can read about that in one of the books that I described in the last stream, or in the chat. There are some other options as well for his parentage. Now, some other things that are really interesting about this particular god is that Nergal is associated with a large number of local and foreign deities, meaning it's not just Babylon. This is a god that is a god of the underworld across Mesopotamian, Mediterranean sects. So the reason that I say this is the very first major boss outside of the Midgard-Sormr stand-in that Gladio faces is the god of the underworld. So what does that mean that Gladio is fighting against, chat? What is Gladio facing, coming face to face with, in order for him to eventually protect Noctis? Because this is all about Noctis' story. Why and what is Gladio facing here? I'm going to finish this fight, and then I look forward to reading your answers in the chat. Let's get to it. Ooh, I'm about to die. I am dying. Can you hit that high potion, please? Thank you. That was close. Good dodge. There's old Nergal. Notice the skulls around him. He's summoning reapers. I mean, all of this is very, very heavy-handed. And then everything's gone. Good. Yeah, he's facing death, Smith. I mean, that's right on the nose. So why would Gladio have to face death? Is this facing the denial of death? Is he facing this this mentality of death? Is he coming face to face with death for the purpose of experiencing the worst? All kinds of good questions here.
Our power goes with you now, young warrior.
One other interesting thing about Nergal is that Nergal also decides the fate of the dead. It's almost like a precursor to Hades in some ways, where he's going to determine kind of the place that someone has in the underworld. So
Stand tall, for the shield of the king must kneel in subjugation before no man.
Thanks for the advice, and for the pick-me-up.
I like to think that that was Nergal talking to Gladio.
You made it out alive. Your first trial may have ended, but many more await you on your road to an audience with the Blade Master.
So
Prepare
true.
yourself.
Better rest here while I can.
We better. But first, we got a little trinket over here. We love to collect
Might
trinkets
as well take a break.
on our journeys. Look at that cup noodle over here. Just the boys. Not so much his own death, but the fear of being able to prevent the king's death. Yeah, Smith, I think that's great. You know, a shield or a general or a protector that someone is going to have in their guard, they need to face death and confront death so that you don't have to, right? They're the ones that have your back. And that's one of the things that Gladio continues to be, right? For Noctis. He reminds Noctis of who he is when Noctis forgets, and he's going to face death so Noctis doesn't have to. This is one of the tasks of the shield, and that's why when Gladio and Noctis find out that Regis, Noctis' dad, is dead, they also realize that Claris, Gladio's dad, is dead as well. So kind of important. Oh man, y'all just got hit with the triple Streamlabs ad. Sometimes the timing all lines up like that. Sorry about it. Let's go ahead and have this conversation with Core now. We're gonna save it again.
My father never undertook the trial of Gilgamesh, did he?
Linguistic, I love it.
You want to know why?
Yeah.
I do. I mean, it can't be because he was scared, right?
Not of the trial. He was scared of failing as leader of the Crown's Guard and as shield of the king. He couldn't leave his majesty alone, weakened by the wall as he was. After all, what good is a shield with no one to protect? What about you? Worried about leaving your majesty alone?
A little. But I'm gonna do what's right for me, like my father did what was right for him. Let's go.
Okay. So off we go. Streamlabs wants to speak on FF, but they keep trying, but have been unsuccessful. Seriously. Also, if you're too preoccupied with the idea of if I don't do this, he'll die, you can handicap yourself emotionally. Isn't that the truth? Let's go. I need that on a little soundboard as well. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
How long has it been since you undertook the trial? 30 years or so?
Give or take. I was a lot younger than you are, and far less experienced. It's a wonder I even made it out alive.
This place look familiar to you?
Vaguely. The younger me had little mind for taking in the sights.
Things. That'd be a good idea, right? ProfNoctis soundboard. Just random things that I yell occasionally. Okay, and up the mountain we go. Oh, shiny. We love that. Oh, we can use columns. One of my students once said, he's using columns to fight these Babylonian Mesopotamian deities. Kind of like how Samson used columns to bring down all of the Philistines. Where the book of Judges said, Samson killed more Philistines in his death than he did in his life by bringing the columns down. That's a good idea, Racy. I love that. Yeah, we don't really use bits in here. Partly because I just don't know how to do such things. This is his jawbone. I wish that Gladio would use a jawbone. That would be amazing, right? Turn around and hit, Gladio. Okay, now let's slowly walk over here. Or maybe our friend Core's got this guy. Okay. Whoa! That was a big... Oh my gosh, that was massive. That was way better. I see the Gladio Samson similarities. I think that's cool. Okay, now let's tiptoe up here. We've got more bodies.
Chamber.
And another chance for the warriors to impart their wisdom. It won't come easy, though. You'll have to earn it.
Don't we always? All right, let's look at the next Mesopotamian god. How exciting. Okay, this is a good one. Yeah. All right, my friends, it is Enkidu.
Since our last visitor, far more than I can count. Let us see how our latest challenger will fare.
Try this.
There we go. Come on, Glady. What's up, Lady of the Rings? Glady Daddy. Ooh, that was a good hit. That was a good hit. Dude, let's go get a pillar. Let's get our friend the pillar. Now, everybody, you remember Enkidu, right? Oh god, he's gonna kill me here. Oh, ow, that was pain. Ooh, that was a good hit. That was a real good hit. Oh, I'm about to die, though. Oh, you mean I am dead? Let's use a little phoenix down here. Got him. So, we killed Enkidu. Let's chat for a moment. So as we continue with the environmental storytelling, we just met Enkidu. Enkidu is Gilgamesh's best friend, but former rival, right? And so when we talk about Enkidu, we have to talk about the pantheon of gods. I mentioned earlier that Gilgamesh was a king of Uruk, and he became the greatest king in the region, and he was kind of an unjust king as well. Essentially taking for himself whatever he wanted. This was particularly true of women. And so as a bride would be married to someone, he had first dibs. That was essentially what the Epic of Gilgamesh tells us. So there were those that would try to oppose him, but he was so great and so powerful, so strong, that he was uncontested. So the gods in the pantheon, they said, we have got to create someone to go and humble Gilgamesh, because he is thinking of himself as on par with the gods, and he is not a god, he is a king. We've got to keep him in check. So they created Enkidu. Enkidu was a beast of a person. I mentioned this a little bit earlier. He was a beast of a person, very wild, and in the first iteration, or in the first days of Enkidu, he was undomesticated, and so he was just feral, wild. And so the gods utilized a prophetess, a temple prostitute, to kind of teach him a number of different things. And ultimately, one of the ways of imparting divine knowledge was through intercourse with a divine prostitute, or a temple prostitute. In fact, that was a situation that ended up plaguing the people of Israel, where they would utilize divine temple prostitutes to impart allegedly wisdom of their god or other Mesopotamian gods. And it became a real issue of idolatry. So when King Josiah actually came in, and when he came in and wiped the slate clean and did some temple purification stuff, this was one of the things that he was remedying, getting rid of all the temple prostitutes. And so when the gods and the goddesses had instilled knowledge through this temple prostitute into Enkidu, they began to teach him the ways of man. And they were training him to go and face Gilgamesh. So he eventually goes and faces Gilgamesh. Long story short, he sees Gilgamesh doing the thing. Doing the things that he was known for, right? Taking advantage of people, taking advantage of women particularly, and Enkidu will not stand for it. And so they begin this epic Michael Bay style fight, wrestling match. And it's not just like a competition, right? It is like an actual, like they are fighting because he's like doing wrong and Enkidu is trying to right him. The prostitute Shamhat teaches Enkidu to make him less feral, and that teaching comes through this very intimate relationship. Now, that's a really important thing to note, and I want to tell you how it kind of influences some of our Genesis accounts. The story of Gilgamesh and the stories of Babylonian creation not only predate, but they inform the Genesis 1 and 2 accounts in the Hebrew Bible. Now, that's really troubling to a lot of people, but here's what I would say. Remember, the Old Testament, by and large, a great deal of it, especially the Torah parts, were written and revised and retold during the days of the Babylonian exile. And they're asking the question, how did we get here? What went wrong in order for us to get here? And yet, they're also existing in Babylon, meaning they're hearing the stories of Babylon, the creation narratives. And what they do, really, really interestingly, it's a foregone conclusion that the world was made. It's a foregone conclusion that there was a flood. But the people of Israel, the scribes of Israel, they retell those stories of Babylon with a mind toward their God. Does that make sense? So in Genesis chapter 1, there's a lot of parallels with the light and the formation, and in chapter 2, the sculpting of humanity and the very hands-on sandbox approach of the divine to creating existence. But what the Hebrews do, what the Hebrew scribes do, is they give God a personality of compassion, a personality of lordship, but also a personality of authority over all gods. It's for this reason, though Christians have a different interpretation of this, it's for this reason in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, God looks at creation and says, "Let us make man in our image." It's plural. Now, Christians might tell you that they might suggest that this is an allusion to the Trinity, and I'm not saying that that's wrong, but we do have to read these texts in the context in which they are first written. And so the concept of the Trinity is a much later understanding in Christianity, right? In history toward Christianity. So if we're just taking what they're discussing in Genesis chapter 1 at face value in the time in which it's written, well, the God, Elohim, is looking at all of the other gods of the pantheon, the Babylonian pantheon, and saying, let us, plural, make man in our image. And so there's a spark, to some degree, of divinity, or at least a representation, a co-creative power that God has given the man. But the important thing to note about that Genesis 1 passage is that Elohim is the God above them all. That's a really, really important thing to remember. In chapter 2, you've got God represented as Yahweh, right? And this is a much closer, tangible sort of God. And so these two stories, though they do conflict and contradict in some ways, they represent two different understandings of God. You've got Elohim, who is high and lofty, Yahweh, who is much closer to humanity. And they're brought together into this consolidated understanding of God told across two different Babylonian stories and myths. Does that make sense? They're telling more about God than they are a science or a how-to book. And that's why we call these archetypal stories. The flood is the same way. So I share all of that because these are the thoughts that were surrounding the nation of Israel during their formation and certainly during the Babylonian exile. And so it's possible that the Israelites even would have heard of the story of Gilgamesh and Enkidu. So what do they learn about Enkidu? Well, they learn that there is this accountable relationship between kings and representatives of the divine. Enkidu may in some ways represent this prophet sort of mindset that is trying to keep Gilgamesh in check. Enkidu's presence with Gilgamesh legitimizes his kingship because he is who he says he is. But Enkidu also serves as this kind of like divine voice for Gilgamesh. And finally, he ends up serving as his best friend and his counsel, which is the exact role of a prophet, which I think is really, really cool when you think of Enkidu and Gilgamesh as a forebear to the nature of kings and prophets. Does that make sense, everybody? So we'll continue with Enkidu as we move throughout this. That's a quick mini lecture. I don't know how quick it was, but I hope it was helpful and interesting for you. So let's get back to it, shall we? Do you find these things interesting, chat? I always say that you don't watch me for gameplay, you watch me for these insights. I hope that that these are interesting to you. Given the Enkidu's wilder instincts need to be tamed, there's that implication of a need for level-headedness in order to fill that role too. Dragon, you're on it. Heck yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, there is a level of level-headedness, and right? In some ways, I mean, think about Gladio. How is he impulsive? How is he headstrong? And how does he, in some ways, need to be tamed to have a restraint over his aggression? You know, he's the shield of the king, not the sword of the king. And yet, so often, he pulls for the sword instead of the shield. Something to that.
Venture forth, young warrior, bearing our hopes and dreams.
Okay.
Look ahead, for the shield of the king must safeguard our future.
Leave it to me.
No pressure. Okay, Soul of Valor, let's go. Oh, I gotta get better at blocking. Ooh. If I'm gonna make it in the end, I've got to get better at blocking.
Pathetic. It's over.
Do not say pathetic about me. Surely he wasn't. But that'd be so funny if he was. Valar. You know, Dragon, as much as I love Lord of the Rings, I must admit I never finished reading it. I tapped out in Concerning Hobbits, which was chapter 1 of the Fellowship of the Ring. I am sad to say, right? Let me break these boxes. I just want all the shinies, you know? I want all of the shinies because I need the potions. Gasp. Listen, I need to go back and revisit it. I know it's a classic, and I know that I'm going to like it. I know I love the story. I know I love the story because I love the movies. But I just never... There's only so much description of Blades of Grass that I could handle, you know? It is a bit of an acquired taste, and I wish that I could acquire it. But... because I love the world that he's created. It's not, is it? Pick up the pillar, Gladio. Pick up the pillar. Come on, turn around and hit him. Don't let him. They got off like 4 hits on you, Gladio. Get it together. There we go. That's how you do it. Yeah, I'm sure that it's one of those things that ages well with you. Wow, Racy. That's a bit of a confession.
Thousands set foot on these grounds. All of them fools, unprepared for the dangers lurking within. They all meet with the same fate, as will you.
As will you.
I don't think so.
Think what you may, but I know otherwise. The Lucis you call home is nothing like the Lucis I once served. Your age has forgotten the horrors of war.
Oh, wait.
Coddled by
Shiny.
the king, and drunk off the complacency of peace. No shield worthy of defending the true king could be born from such depravity.
Thanks for the vote of confidence.
Seriously.
Look on the bright side. Everyone loves an underdog.
Don't we all? Okay, I want that. Oh, here's some bad guys.
Warm welcome just for me.
Oh, I gotta get some columns. Don't let him hit you like this. Oh, that was a good hit. Oh my gosh, that was a great hit. So this is a Bandersnatch. Nothing particularly remarkable here for story purposes, but you know. He's an interesting creature.
Any last words?
Ow, that was painful. Get him, Core. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, now we gotta kill the turtles. There we go. Teeth that bite, claws that catch. So true. Did anybody watch that Netflix thing on the Bandersnatch? I think it was like a Choose Your Own Adventure Netflix. I never watched it, but I heard it was interesting. The Jabberwock, yeah. I was wondering. Shiny, a potion. Climb up.
Will you stand tall? Even when your flesh fails you? Or will you fall to your knees?
Can I pick up this column? Yeah.
Pathetic.
There we go. Uh-oh, what? Core, break him. Ow, jerk.
Pathetic.
Get him. Everybody, I mentioned the Genesis accounts. How does that sit with you? Have you heard that before? Sometimes my students kind of have a tough time with that one, and I'll tell you, that was something that was kind of challenging to me, because while I didn't grow up a religious person, wasn't in a particularly religious family, I was also able to, I kind of became religious a little bit later on in life. And when I learned this stuff, it really made me think differently about those Genesis passages. I think it enriched my understanding in theology, but it can be troubling to a lot of people.
Better rest here while I can.
All right, time to learn about Core a little bit more. And eat some cup noodles. I should have gotten some cup noodles for dinner. That'd have been fun.
Never thought I'd make my way back to the tempering grounds.
You said it's been 30 years. Were you as immortal then as you are now?
If you want to know, I'll talk.
Oh yeah, I want to know, Core.
The Blade Master. What was he like?
I don't remember much, except for those eyes.
Those eyes.
They pierced my heart and peered right into my soul. It was like she knew my every move even before I did. Try as you may, there's no fooling those eyes.
We'll see about that.
We'll see about that.
Back to the trials.
Back to them. Let's do it. Okay.
He who protects the king must boast muscle and metal, both finely tempered. Should he lack either, the shield will shatter.
It's all yours, Marshal. Well, don't mind if I do.
Good him. Oh, you gotta actually hit him, Gladio. You gotta actually hit him.
Any last words?
There we go. Good last words. That was great. Oh, got more bodies. That's always good to see. Love that. Okay, I'm gonna crawl through this hole. Okay, lady. Good. If there's one thing I can instill in people, it's this. Context matters. One of my professors once told me, a text without context is a pretext for subtext. I think that's what it was. A text without context is a pretext for subtext. Yeah, it's good. And I certainly do agree with that. Oh, and here we have Inanadarum. Inanadarum is it's a riff on an Egyptian god of all things. And again, kind of an Egyptian god of pestilence, disease, and the underworld. Ooh. Not me refusing to heal. Ah, that's what happens when you refuse to heal. Yeah, and some people have some challenges with that, you know, and like I totally get it. But you know, this is what I tell my religious students, you know. The divine speaks in the time in which the hearers live. That way they can understand it. And so that's important to remember. If you believe in a God that is constantly speaking and stuff, well, it's important to note that people heard God in their own languages. You know, they understood God. The scriptures were translated or originally written in the language of the hearers. And so inevitably there are things that are going to be lost throughout the centuries and the generations, and that's okay. The way that I talk about it in a lot of my classes is there's something that's coined progressive revelation. And it's the idea that there is a story of the I guess there's a flow and a progression of the story of God that takes place over time. So the way that I describe it is through a question. Who knows more about God? Moses or David? And my students oftentimes will say, well, Moses, because he spoke to God face to face and things like that. And I think, yeah, there's an argument for that. But what about David as he's facing Goliath, as he's learning to reign over the kingdom, as he's doing all of these kind of larger than life sort of things? Does he not know and have more understanding of God's personhood and attributes and understanding than Moses did? Because he's taking everything that Moses knew and learned during his life, and he's assimilating it into himself. In the same way, who knew more, Moses or Abraham, about God? They both had significant relationships with God, but Moses has the advantage of hearing the stories of the patriarchs of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And so what we see is this progression from almost like a tribal deity in the early stages of Genesis that begins to grow and be promoted and evolves through the desert, through the early judges, through the kingship narratives, and then through the exile. And so the way that I describe it is every generation takes from the lessons that have come before it. And I think that that's such a key sort of thing. That comparison's putting you in mind of a fact of a lot of languages use more than one word for know, a difference between familiarity and understanding. Yeah, and that's it. The difference between familiarity and understanding. It's not who knows him better, but who knows more about. So do you have an understanding of this person, or of this deity rather, or do you have a familiarity relationally with them? And those are two different questions. So really, really interesting things. Karuai, I'm reminded personally of how we were always taught in Catholic school that the New Testament sort of takes the place of the Old Testament. Interesting. But the Old Testament is still taught because it's important to recall the history of what leads to the new covenant in Jesus. Yeah, and so Jesus himself says that he didn't come to abolish the law, and I would say the law and the prophets and essentially the entire Hebrew Bible, but instead he does what? He fulfills it. And we're going to get to that in later chapters of Final Fantasy 15, talking about some of this messianic and Christological implication. But these are key moments, key points that come up in my class all the time. So you may be interested in that sort of thing. So I don't know. I think it's a good conversation to have. It's kind of an update. Yeah, in some ways I would say. Maybe this is just my dissertation talking, and maybe it's just my intro. Oh, there's a blue thing. I knew there was another one in this room. But and you're going to get this once we get to chapter 13 and 14 and beyond. I fundamentally believe that the Hebrew and Christian scriptures read all together can be read as a kingship narrative. And I think it's a really interesting way of lens of looking at this entire narrative, especially the Gospels. And so with that in mind, it's necessary to understand what it is that Jesus is fulfilling in the Hebrew Bible if you're a Christian. And so, there was an early heresy that would take away all of the Old Testament. There was a guy named Marcion that piecemealed a Bible together, and he said these are the parts that we believe in and these are the parts that we don't, and that was deemed a heresy, and for good reason, because there was this insistence by the church to say no, we need these aspects because they teach us who God is, and then Jesus reveals to us kind of the hidden nature of God. And that's where we get into some of this kind of Gnostic understanding in the Gospel of John, which is also really, really interesting. So neat stuff, everybody. Good discussions. my students are going to be rewatching this VOD, and they're going to be like, good Lord, what are we doing?
Be true, for the shield of the king must deceive none.
Good talk, team.
Not even himself.
Yeah, easier said than done.
All right, everybody, big boss coming up soon. Let's see. Don't say, yeah, Gnosticism. Yeah, that'll, boy, oh boy, that gets hectic. And so many people just say that everything is Gnosticism, right? I'm not one of those people. But when I talk about Gnosticism, I'm constantly kind of talking about a sort of hidden knowledge of the divine, and specific to creation. Okay, here's a fun boss that we're about to face. And I'll tell you the story of him. His name is Humbaba. And if you are familiar with the Gilgamesh epic, then you know that he plays a pretty significant role in that epic. I'll tell you the story momentarily. Oh, I missed it. Ooh, I need to heal, don't I? That'd be fun. Oh, not like that, I don't. Oh, let's grab one of these pillars. Take down Humbaba. Do not push me. Oh, I broke the pillar. Okay, great. Awesome. Love that. Ow, jerk. Oh, that was real painful. Why don't we go ahead and use a high potion here? That'd be fun. Trying to get better at blocking. I'm not doing a great job. Yeah, there we go. Oh, we got some rage. Dang it, I missed it again! It's fine, we'll just keep going. It's fine, Humbaba's supposed to be tough. Pick up this column. Can't. Is there another column? Listen, jerk. Jerk. I do love Humbaba in 6. He's good. In fact, Humbaba in 6 was my first introduction to the Epic of Gilgamesh. Because I began to read about Humbaba when I went to the library. Just absolutely love his role in that. Okay, we finally got it. Finally.
Any last words?
There we go. Knock him out. Let's go. Man, that flaming sword though. Oh, ow, that was pain. I've only got 3 Phoenix Downs left. Ouch. Yeah, that's what we do, man. Got him. Right here. There we go. Awesome. Chat, let's talk about Humbaba. So, Sorry, I've got to change the audio on that. I know it's loud for you. That's my fault. I will change that after this stream. But with the story of Humbaba, this beast is found in the Epic of Gilgamesh, and Gilgamesh and Enkidu, like I said, became best friends, and they go running around, questing and doing all kinds of fun things. But there is rumor of a beast named Humbaba, and he is a guard of the sacred grove, which is the entryway to the place of the divine. And the deities have placed Humbaba there to essentially protect their home. And so Humbaba and Enkidu have this idea that they're going to go and they're going to take down Humbaba. And so they go to face Humbaba, and they do end up besting him. But in the battle, and I'm kind of giving you the Cliff's Notes version, I do hope that you'll go and read this story for yourself, whether it's Stephen Mitchell's translation or somebody else's. But Enkidu is mortally wounded by Humbaba. And it breaks Gilgamesh's heart, because his best friend, Humbaba, who had kind of advised him not to be so proud and have to go after Humbaba, Gilgamesh is watching his friend die, basically, on his account. Well, Enkidu does die, and Gilgamesh takes it on himself to go and basically go in search of immortality. And so he travels to the underworld, where we are right now. He travels to the underworld, and he's trying to overcome death. This is the final boss of his life. And it's such a parallel to humanity, whereas the final boss of humanity is death, right? And so he goes into the underworld, and eventually he discovers that he cannot defeat death. But while he is there, he comes across a man named Utnapishtim. Utnapishtim is the equivalent of Noah in the Genesis epic of the flood. And Utnapishtim tells him the story of the flood, and ultimately Gilgamesh has to accept his own mortality, that even his greatness will come to an end. But what's important then is to, long story short, one of the messages is make the most of the time that you have. Do not try to attain godhood, all of that kind of stuff. Instead, make the most of the time that you have. And I'd love to say that there's more of a redemption arc for Gilgamesh. Yes and no. He does come to a place of resolution. It's not like he just turns around and becomes a moral, upstanding person, but he does kind of reckon with death. And so there is closure to his story, I suppose. So this story of Humbaba is, and Enkidu is really important because for Gilgamesh, he couldn't save his friend. And Gladio, facing Enkidu, is facing his friendship. He's coming to terms not only with death, but the closeness and the friendship. Is he a good advisor to Noctis, like Enkidu was in some ways to Gilgamesh, even though Gilgamesh didn't listen to him? Secondly, with Humbaba, is Gladio willing to take the bullet for Noctis? Is he willing to do what Enkidu did and to die on behalf of this one that he is the shield for, the protector of? And so then we face Humbaba, we defeat the one that defeated the friend, and you can make some interpretations with that. But then eventually you come to Gilgamesh. I think this is a really cool thing because Gladio then faces off against Gilgamesh, who is allegedly the shield of the king, but he in Babylonian mythology is the king. So what does that mean for Gladio? Well, maybe the way that I would say it is Gladio takes on Gilgamesh because Gilgamesh wasn't able to save his friend. He understood the mortality of himself And somehow by beating Gilgamesh, he learns this lesson. Gladio learns this lesson of nobody lives forever. So what are we doing to make the most of the time that we have? And what is Gladio's role? Well, to be the shield of the king. Now, I'll talk a little bit more of wrap up after we've beat Gilgamesh. But yeah, that's kind of where we are. Let's go. Watch your ears. Sorry, everybody. I know that's loud. My apologies, my apologies. How's all of this resonating with you? Is it making sense? I'm trying to break it down in the easiest ways
but the final
for
trial
you.
awaits you.
Knowing that you may not be Gilgamesh or literary or religious scholars trying to help you out here. I hope it makes sense for you. I find this stuff super interesting.
Nice work. Maybe you've got what it takes after all.
But it ain't for you or me.
You're right, lady.
True.
You're right.
And the Blade Master is a more formidable foe than any you've faced thus far.
Time to take a load off.
He did achieve immortality, yes. Are you talking about his legacy? Like, is that it? I think that's a good way of interpreting it. And so, you know, what does that mean for Gladio, right? You know, what does that mean for Noctis, even? And to live for the legacy of another, as the shield of a king, you know? Does make sense, makes you want to read them. Yeah. Karuai, making sense to you, not familiar with Gilgamesh, but it's been a while. Good, I hope so, Dragon, I hope so. I think Gladio's always ready to succeed, take the bullet, but he's not ready to fail. Yes, Smith, yes. He almost risks becoming like Zod in the Man of Steel. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. That's good. Okay, good. So let's listen a little bit to Core and Gladdy Daddy.
Well, what about you? I want to know what was going through your head back then.
You that interested in me?
These weirdos. Yes, that's why I asked.
I mean, you were a lot younger than I am.
And a lot brasher, too, if you can believe it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't listen to a single word anyone said. I thought I was invincible. No one could stop me. Until he cut me down to size. I was cast out in defeat, my hubris laid bare for all to see. You really are immortal, they say. And it stuck.
This is good lore.
That's rough. Still, you made it back alive. Something no one else has ever done. And I respect that.
Yeah. Hear that, everybody? So, Core the Immortal.
More than a soup.
That was much more than a soup. Yeah, it was cup noodles, buddy. Core the Immortal, that moniker is a mark of shame for him because he wasn't able to beat Gilgamesh, but everybody said, you really are immortal. So Gilgamesh let Core live because he felt as though there may be some usefulness in him. But having that brand of Core the Immortal,
to die, have you?
It's a little embarrassing for him.
You're looking to die again.
You amuse but do not impress. You lack his conviction.
Whose?
He who traversed these caves some 30 years ago. Turning a deaf ear to our wails and wishes, he proceeded unfazed, eyes ever forward.
He's with us.
Yet he proved powerless before the general.
Cast out in defeat. Oh. Magic sword. Hey, what's up, Omega?
Claris would have tried to stop you, you know. Just like he
You're
tried
right,
to stop
Smith.
me. All those years ago.
How come?
Because one aspiring to the role of King's Shield can stake his life for none but his liege. Not even for himself. Do you dare risk all for naught in return? His words stayed with me. And he was right. I barely made it back with nothing to show for it.
So you gonna stop me?
No, I won't. But I will warn you one last time of the danger you're about to face. Just like your father warned me. Once you set foot through that door, there's no turning back. And no one to help you if you fall. One false step and it may prove your last.
I'll be fine.
Thanks, Omega.
Maybe I'll
Welcome
come
in.
back with a souvenir.
Maybe, Gladio.
Just come back alive. Be safe, Gladio.
And also with you. Alright, let's face Gilgamesh. This is a tough fight.
There's a chill in the air. I can feel his presence. You better be ready for me.
Oh, a blue thing. A high potion. Any blue things over here? No? I feel like there's one more. Guess not. Okay, let's go fight the Blade Master. Oh, you bought it! That's awesome! Tell me how it is. I hope that you enjoy it. Oh my gosh, I love it. I absolutely love it. Also, thank you for the support, friend. Wait, no, that was Beowulf. Hey, there's some similarities there between Gladdy Daddy and Beowulf. Emphasis on Bay in Beowulf. I'll see myself out.
Let's see if you can handle it.
Ooh, you put the Bay in Beowulf. That's a great, like, pickup line, right? No, you don't, Gilgy. Or Greg, for those of you that are Final Fantasy XIV fans. Also, this rendition of the Gilgamesh theme is so stinking good. I love it. Battle on the Big Bridge, yes. I'm glad, chat. I'm glad you agree. The best part of Final Fantasy V, this song. Such a nerd. Beowulf.
Countless disappointments met their end here. And so shall you.
I didn't come here to die.
What's up, Empress?
I came here to prove to you I'm worthy.
Worthy. Oh, we're fencing. Get him! Come on, Glady! Yeah! Oh, he's grown an arm. Wall of text coming? Come on, Leon. No spoilers, though. Remember, no spoilers for the main game.
The power you possess is wasted on you.
But yeah, wall of text can come. Let's go ahead and high potion it up.
I've still got some tricks up my sleeve, too. Ain't no way I'm backing down now.
Ow. Oh, that was painful. Oh my gosh. How about a Phoenix down? This is tough. Dodge better, Gladio. Gladio. Ooh, good dodge there. Bad dodge there. This DLC do hit hard. Oh my gosh, that's my last Phoenix down? Are you kidding me? That's problematic.
Want some?
Come on, Gladio. Ooh, my face! Let's go, Gladio. Get him! Come on, get him! Get him! Shishka Gilgamesh.
Any last words?
BAM! What a finish!
I kneel before no man.
That's right, baby. That's right. That was beautiful. Also, no blood from that boy.
Not exactly the souvenir I had in mind. It took me a while, but I realized something. You're right. I am afraid. Afraid of accepting the fact that maybe I'm not really cut out for the job I'm expected to do. But hey, at least I'm not walking away empty-handed.
Ha!
I'd better get going. I may be all muscle and no metal, but I'm gonna keep protecting Noct.
The only
way I know how.
We love him. We love him.
Spoken like a true shield of the king. Fear and doubt beget death alone. He who averts his gaze from his own faults cannot himself a true shield call. But you, having made peace with your inner self, have proven you are worthy. The chosen king should be so fortunate as to have a man like yourself serving at his side.
You mean?
And with this glaive, I entrust my power to you.
Where did you...
Taken from the young man who impressed me with his strength of will. It was with this very blade he stole from me my arm.
But... I can't accept this.
If he still walks among the living, a man of his mettle will have doubtless transcended attachment to mere material possessions.
You're probably right. In that case, don't mind if I do.
Now, hasten forth, with mind unclouded by doubt and will unmoved by fear. The last king of Lucis is ill fit to fight without his shield.
Thanks again.
The last king of Lucis. So, what's implied there, Chad, if you didn't catch that, is that Gilgamesh was the first shield of the first king of Lucis.
Sure did.
And he's entrusting his power to Gladio, who's the last shield
back with me too.
of Lucis.
Figured you might get a kick out of it.
I wondered where I put that thing.
Look, Max Middleman was also in this cast. Red 13 himself.
Keep it. Makes for a better souvenir than that scar.
No, I'm not doing time attack. No way.
You know, He mentioned he lost his arm in battle with a real hot-headed young guy back in the day.
That's so.
Whoever it was left a lasting impression on him. Talked about how the guy had the strongest will he'd ever seen.
Takes more than will to complete the trial.
I do need
You
that,
wield
lady.
your weapon with a primal finesse. If you fail to prove your might, you get cast out empty-handed.
I don't know. He didn't seem to think the guy would let it bother him. Said the guy's too old to care about material things anymore. If he's still alive.
Gladio.
Huh?
I hope you feel more confident in light
Yeah.
of your success today.
Exactly,
Can lay claim to
Dragon,
such an
yes.
accomplishment. Not even Core the Immortal.
Good point,
Yeah,
Dragon,
but I
yes.
didn't earn myself a badass nickname like he did. Still, I'm glad I went through with it.
Good stuff.
I can finally say
Good
I'm
stuff.
truly ready to fulfill my duty.
Good.
Well, I guess this shield better
Mosey on back to his king.
Wouldn't want him to get scared without me.
Isn't that good? Isn't this DLC good, you guys? One other thing that I want to mention about this DLC, I'll let them chat for a second.
So that's how you got it.
What do you think?
Yeah, they're a little.
Very perpendicular.
Sometimes they all hit at the
one
same
you got when
time.
you saved Noct from that
Sometimes.
Yeah. Only difference is, this time, I ended up taking a pretty bad beating too.
Not unlike the licking the Marshal received back when he was a lad.
Must have had a lot of guts to go up against Gilgamesh back then.
Yeah, Dad said he used to be a real firecracker.
The more you know.
If the Blade Master sequestered himself during the Founder King's reign, then he's haunted those halls for some 2 millennia.
That's a long time.
All those years waiting for the Chosen King to arise. You sure know how to take your sweet old time.
What can I say? I'm worth the wait.
Give me a break.
And I as well.
Just because you got a shield to protect you now doesn't mean you get to slack off. But if you do, I'll be ready.
Cute. One final thing that I want to mention about episode Gladio, then we'll make our way to the boat for that. Yeah, watch your ears. I'm going to change the audio after the stream for that. But one thing that I love about this particular DLC, that as it relates to Noctis, is I asked my class the question, why do you think that this game, which leans so heavily into the story of David and Israel and Judah's kingship narratives, why do you think they chose to go with all of these Mesopotamian gods as the ones, as like the enemies in Gladio's DLC? Why do you think that, chat? I've got a few ideas, but I'd love to hear what you think about that while I load up the main game here. Why do you think they would choose in this very sacral kingship, Hebrew Bible focused story, they might choose to use Mesopotamian gods in Gladio's DLC? Any ideas? We'll go ahead and load this up. And we're going to do chapter 8 very quickly. It's a very, very fast chapter. We're going to make one stop and then we're going to finish her up. It is essentially the cleanup chapter. The Mesopotamian gods with the competition. Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. So what role, make the connection between that and Gladio as the shield of Noctis. Why would the shield of the king need to face all of the Mesopotamian gods who are the competition? Talk to me about that. You can kind of piece it together, I bet. So here's what I would say. When you think about the nations of Israel, and my students, between now and the beginning of April, they are doing a huge report on all of the 40 some odd kings of the Hebrew Bible and Old Testament. And they're asking the question, according to the ascension story of trials, relationships, responsibility, and ultimately their ability to deliver order, these four aspects, which kings were considered successes and which kings were considered failures. So this is a massive, massive project that I give them half the semester to do. And ultimately it ends with one particular king, the king named Zedekiah. And one of the sad things of the Hebrew Bible and the story of sacral kingship with them is that when you get Solomon diversified his wealth in a great way. He had wisdom beyond measure from God. He had wealth beyond measure as a side thing for that. But in his wealth, there was one unwise thing that he did. And it was he took on 700 wives and 300 concubines for a total of 1,000 women. Right, which is not wise anyway, but the biggest reason it was unwise, beyond just fidelity and things like that, the biggest issue is that those marriages and those women, concubines, he allowed them to kind of have their own patron religions. So they would have Asherah poles, they would have these high places that were pagan, right? In our terms. Yeah, that's exactly right, Smith. Israel kept falling into worship of pagan gods, and they could have benefited from someone keeping them on track. So Solomon allowed all of that to happen, and those that are telling the story in Babylonian exile, they recall, if we had not abandoned our faith in God for all of these idolatrous practices, we might have been able to maintain our land and maintain our national identity and our kingship and our throne and all that stuff. They blame their loss and their conquering on a spiritual problem, a faithfulness problem, not on a battle strategy problem. It's kind of interesting to think about that. So you get immediately after Solomon, he has a son, Rehoboam, and he has a chief general, Jeroboam, and they contend for the throne, and it ends up splitting the nation in half. Northerners go with Jeroboam, and I think it's like 10 tribes of Israel in the north and 2 in the south. They go with Rehoboam. And so there's a divided kingdom, a divided kingship. Israel in the north, Judah in the south. And we know that any nation divided against itself is going to be conquered. And that's what happens. The Assyrians sack Israel. The Babylonians eventually beat up the Assyrians and then assimilate Judah in the south. And so they're carried away into exile. And all of this is catalyzed. The catalyst is these pagan idolatrous practices, because they forsook the Lord their God, Elohim, and they abandoned their faith in him for these other gods. They didn't follow that first command, which, I am the Lord your God, you will have no gods before me. And so they began to worship Baal and Ashtoreth, all of these others. As a result. Does that make sense, everybody? So I think that with episode Gladio, I think that it's a really cool feature that they're bringing in all of these Mesopotamian gods, because that's the downfall of the kingship in the Hebrew Bible. And what if Solomon or David or any of these after him had a shield that guarded them from paganism, idolatry, stuff like that? It's a really interesting thing to think about, isn't it? Every king needs a Gladio, and sometimes that Gladio isn't just about protecting you from enemy armies. Sometimes it's protecting you against ideologies, philosophies, thoughts that corrupt you. And this is something that I talk about with my students a great deal. Your trials as a king are not for a kingship. Your relationships aren't going to be the same as well. But there are parallels, and everybody needs a Gladio. Everybody needs somebody that's going to pull you aside and going to talk sense to you, going to defend you from falling prey to things that aren't truly who you are, right? I am so thankful for the Gladios in my life that have made me a better person, that have reminded me of my core values and my the things that matter to me when I was forgetting them and losing them. Chad, I have the sincere honor of doing a number of weddings, and on the rehearsal dinner for all of the weddings, and sometimes during the ceremony itself, I always tell the bridal parties that they are invited and selected because they are the ride or die. I don't call them this, but they're the crown's guard. Some of them are protectors, some of them are advisors, some of them are just dear friends, but they've all been invited to have eyewitness accounts, like they are front row seat on this stage with the bride and the groom. And I say to them, you've been invited for this purpose, so that when they say their vows, you'll be close enough that you can see the mist in their eyes, you can hear the tremble in their voices, and you can remember that moment, because there will come a time when this bride and this groom, they forget that moment. But you've been invited to remember. You've been invited to be witnesses of this sacred moment and this sacred act. And to me, that's what this is about. How are we training up ourselves to be somebody's Gladio, and how are we identifying Gladios in our own lives? It's a powerful, powerful statement. But the ultimate thing about this DLC that I remember is everybody needs a Gladio. Everybody needs that person that's going to knock some sense into you and to go to the mat for you. So if you don't have that, man, I hope that you find it at some point, because it's a beautiful thing when you have it. So, we all need it. And with that, lecture/sermon over, I guess. Let's go. Oh, man. Watch your ears. We're going back to gameplay. Yeah, I'm not trying to make you cry, but I do think that that's a beautiful sentiment, right? Yeah. With Somnus in the background. If ever I want people to cry, we're just going to play some Somnus. Oh, man. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Maybe I'll clip that. That seems like something that Twitter would eat up. They would probably just trash it. They'd be like, what is this? Where's my gameplay? All right, we're going to finish this chapter really quick, because everything becomes a little bit more intense after this. After
Rise
this
and
chapter.
shine, Prince Charming, we're here.
Oh, still in our good old fishing outfit.
Sounds like a spot of trouble's popped up at the power plant. Wish I could help, but I'm powerless to do anything I'm not ordered to. I'll leave the keeping of the peace to you.
Of course.
We got this.
Good luck, boys.
Thanks, Aranea. Such a bro. Such a friend. The Queen. The Queen's blood. Okay, everybody. If you remember right, we just finished up at Steeleth Grove. And we are back.
Loving that outfit, Noct.
Why don't you wear one?
Well, that's the only one. And if anyone stands a fighting chance in there, it's you. Forget about fashion and go.
Testing. Do you read me?
Loud and clear.
Just wanted to thank you for offering to clear out those demons. That'll give me time to treat this mithril for you. There's a hunter who went in right ahead of you.
A hunter?
I imagine there are too many for one to handle, but two of you should be fine.
We'll
And
see.
a little heads up. We're getting some unstable readings from the generators inside. Too much power and the whole place could blow. So be quick.
Will do.
Will do. Oh, hey, Hunter friend. New party member.
You my backup?
I thought we were partners.
Anyway, place is crawling with demons.
Wait a sec. You sound familiar.
Save the talk. We got hunting to do. Now, if we're done with the introductions, follow me.
This guy, I wonder who he is. Mystery party member over here.
There they are.
There's some demons.
Ready to rumble.
Oh yeah.
Just a humble hunter, obviously. We have no idea who he could be. Just the way it is.
Some pretty fancy moves we got there. Reminds me of a certain king I know.
A certain king, you know? How do you know a king?
You make a good sparring partner.
We're detecting a major power surge. It's gonna blow. Abort the mission and get out of there.
I ain't one to leave unfinished business. Can't speak for him though.
Bet around me. I got this.
Well, how about you prove it?
Go badly.
A man of no consequence. Okay. Where are our other demon friends? There's one. More demons. Get them. Every one of them here.
Hey, big guy.
Hey, big guy, do this. Oh, weird. You fight just like Gladio. That's so weird. Who in the world could you be?
Had all of them?
Think so.
Got them all.
Nice job. It didn't disappoint.
When have I ever?
Keep it up.
Will do. Now, let's scram.
Okay. This way. I guess we got them all. Mystery hunter friend. World's worst kept secret. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-da. What's up? Welcome in. Oh man, you're gonna have to go back and check out the the VOD. We just finished out
Work in there. As
the
promised,
Gladio stuff.
Here's your mithril. And thank you for your hard work.
Sure.
Hey, big guy!
So the hunter who went on ahead.
The one and only. How you been, fellas?
What a
Not
surprise.
bad. Whoa, someone did a number on you, though.
You should see the other guy. Anyway, I'm back. And better than ever.
Isn't it great to play this
Gladdy?
immediately after the other?
Believe it.
Hey, thanks for looking after her, Dustin.
So, Gladdy, did you apologize to Noct for storming off like that?
He made it up to me in there.
The power plant? Oh, so you got your hands on some mithril. In that case, I'll go deliver it to Sid. You'll probably want to freshen up first anyway.
You're so right.
Come and meet me in Kayam when you're ready.
Not every day you see a stellar stone like that. Nice find.
So true. All right, everybody, we are going to head down to Cape Kaim, but before we do that, we are going to make one pit stop. Real quick.
You see this, Noct?
What about it?
Come on, Prompto.
Hey, do you think we could swing by the cup noodle shop for a sec?
Oh, you have
I
got
like
to
cup
be
noodles
kidding
as
me.
much as anyone, but I think you might like them a little too much, big guy.
There's
Well-
nothing else like them. They're easy to make whenever you've got a craving, and they're delicious to boot. I'll never forget my first time.
Must have been real eye-opening after all the fine dining you did before that.
Good Lord. Okay, we will come back for a side quest one night. I love the product placement, but tonight, oh, look at that dirty car. But tonight we are kind of on a mission. I don't know if I have unlocked this particular one. I don't think that I have. So we're going to go to this parking lot, and then I'm going to take a right over here. Or left. What's up? Ren, how you doing? Welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Welcome in. Bow, 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 bow. Da, 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 da.
We're here. It is quite comforting to see other people about.
I'm good. How you doing? Wait a second. Why are we here? I thought I went to a parking lot. I was supposed to go to a parking lot. That is horrible. We're going to go to Old Lestalem. The Battle Pass of Fortnite? That is awesome. Awesome. Did I really just say let's go to the freaking beach? Oh my gosh. That's so bad. I just went to the wrong place. I don't know if it's lost. I really thought that I clicked on the right thing. So completing the Battle Pass of Fortnite, is this before the Greek Gods DLC? Or the next season with the Greek Gods? I hear that Greek Gods are coming soon to that, which is super enticing to me. That might get me... Oh, it's in this battle. Okay, this Battle Pass is finishing tomorrow, so you're finishing that? Okay. Heck yeah. That's awesome. I keep saying if they put Final Fantasy VII characters in Fortnite, or any Final Fantasy characters for that matter, I am in. I will play some Fortnite. The oldest town in Clane. One day, pioneers hoping to explore a new familiar setup camp along the river Wynneth, and the rest is history. Nowadays, mentioning Lestalem immediately conjures images of the electricity-producing powerhouse to the north, but in the past, however, it's referred to this very spot. The name was derived from an ancient word meaning a warship's ram. And much like a brave hero who once boarded said warship and fought valiantly, the town of Old Lestalem has figuratively returned from battle and now lives out its days in peace and quiet. Some citizens are not content with watching their home fade into obscurity, though they have taken up opening up shops to promote the town they love. Cool. You need to continue this Final Fantasy. You're in Chapter 7. Oh man, I love it. We are about to finish Chapter 8 momentarily. But I need to look at the in-game clock because I don't want to start a journey if it's about to go nighttime. They're just going to make me go anyway. Because you can't drive at night, everybody. That's what we've learned around here. Manual. I'm just going to drive us there.
Clear skies with the temperature rising.
Nice.
Okay, am I going the right way? No, I'm not. So we got to turn left. Turn left. Hard left, knocked. Okay, and off we go. Off we go. Let's listen to some music. How about Aerith's theme? Everybody, I am enjoying the heck out of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Next week, while I am on spring break, you are going to get 2... Okay, I need to turn there. You are going to get 2 videos while I am gone. One, I think, is going to release on Tuesday, maybe on Monday. and one on Wednesday, I guess. It'll be 2 days later. But it's for Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. These are going to be some of my initial thoughts. I'm going to tell you, if I have a reaction, I'll include it. I don't think in the first 2 chapters I had any particularly interesting reactions, but meaning like I'm playing the game and like filming my face and like, oh my god, like I don't have any of that. But what I do have is what a view, by the way. What I do have are a series of insights, and that first video is nearly ready to go at this point. But I think that you're gonna love it.
You can say that again.
Because it's like a bite-sized lecture play, but it's like immediate reactions to the game. That's going to be the Chronicles of Rebirth that starts next week, and you're going to get one of these like 10-15 minute things. They're not going to be like super stylized. They're going to be like immediate sort of reactions that I've recorded for each chapter just as I finish it, without any knowledge of future chapters. So there's a real possibility that I am wrong, which is really, really exciting and fun. That's part of research, right? Because I want to share with you my process for how I'm thinking about the games and stuff, and I've got a ton. I've already finished, I haven't filmed them all, but I've finished the scripting of the first 4 chapters of Rebirth and Chronicles of Rebirth. So I think it's right down here, if I'm correct. We'll see. I think you're really gonna like them because it does have some academics, some books that I cite, I read from and stuff just immediately that were on the top of my head and stuff. And you're getting kind of like some director's cut material that didn't make it into my lecture series from a few weeks ago. You're going to get some of that stuff because it applies, oddly enough. And I'm like, dang it, I should have put that in the video. But ultimately, it was, it had to be cut. I think you're going to like this series, though. It's going to be fun. It's not going to be super cut and edited like my thesis videos, but it'll be edited pretty well. I think you're going to like it. I hope you like it. And then, as always, I'm open to suggestions as well. So, chat, let me tell you what we're doing. Instead of just going to Cape Cayam, we are stopping here at Telper Motel. And the reason is there are specific moments in this game when you can go and sleep in certain places and you get key cutscenes. For the last few streams, we've been talking about these 4 guys and how they relate to King David, how they relate to various others. What is this? We accept all animal bones. Now there's an allusion to Samson. Gladio just pointed out jawbones.
That's a lot of horns.
Someone's been busy.
Seriously.
But these rest areas sometimes show us aspects of the characters that we might not ordinarily see. And I think this is a really, really awesome display. So we've identified these 3 as Gladio, the protector, Ignis, the advisor. Everybody needs a good mentor advisor. And then Prompto, who's like the best friend. In David's framework, we definitely know indisputably who Prompto is. And that is Jonathan. Chad, I want to read just a brief passage from the book of 1 Samuel, where it talks a little bit about David's relationship with Jonathan. I'm going to read just a couple of quick things. David's relationship with Jonathan is difficult in a lot of ways. And the reason why it's difficult is because Jonathan is the son of Saul. If you remember right, Saul is trying to kill David, and Jonathan is stuck in the middle of it. And so when Jonathan becomes aware that his father really is about to kill David, I want you to hear their parting words because it's beautiful. It says, well, let me back it up a little bit further. Going to if we go to 1 Samuel chapter 18, we hear a little bit of 19. We get a little bit of David and Jonathan's discussion. Sorry, I'm trying to find it really quick. Oh, I'm sorry, 1 Samuel 20. So, Jonathan and David are saying goodbye to one another because David has to go into hiding and flee. Here's what it says. After the boy, it says, David got up from the south side of the stone and bowed down before Jonathan 3 times with his face to the ground, and then they kissed each other and wept together, but David wept the most. Jonathan said to David, listen to this, "Go in peace, for we have sworn friendship with each other in the name of the Lord, saying, the Lord is witness between you and me, and between your descendants and my descendants forever." Then David left, and Jonathan went back to his own town. Additionally, in an earlier place, it says that Jonathan calls David, and they swear friendship to one another a little bit before. This comes from 1 Samuel chapter 18. It says, David finishes talking with Saul, and Jonathan became one in spirit with David, and he loved him as himself. From that day, Saul kept David with him and did not let him return home to his family, and Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as himself. Jonathan therefore took off his robe he was wearing and gave it to David, along with his tunic, even his sword, and his bow and his belt. This is important because not only is this like a ceremonial friendship, a covenant and a treaty between them, basically, but it shows us the love that Jonathan and David have for one another. They are ride or die. Now, at the beginning of 2 Samuel chapter 1, Jonathan has tragically fallen in battle, and David hears about it. Here's what I want to read to you, chat. 2 Samuel chapter 1 says this, "How the mighty have fallen in battle. Jonathan lies slain on your heights. I grieve for you, Jonathan, my brother, for you were very dear to me. Your love for me was wonderful, more wonderful than that of women." Meaning, David had a series of wives. He had a series of women in his life, and yet his friendship, his kinship with Jonathan rivals them all. It's just a special friendship, and I think that Prompto exhibits that for Noctis.
Hello there, boys, and welcome.
We are going to stay here, and we're going to watch a little bit of that friendship.
Gross.
Woohoo! Bath time!
Bath time. First, we've got some pictures to look at. Oh, they're playing Queen's Blood over here. Gladio's very upset. Gladio and Iris? Well, I don't care. Gladio and Noct. Oh, yeah, we're going to keep that picture. Look at that great picture. Friends. Gladio in a book. He's reading Final Fantasy VI. Pretty sure that's what that says. Oh, look at that selfie. That's a good one. That's a good one, chat. We love that. Okay, here we go. Kind of remember of Jonathan feeling maybe as an outsider.
So, what
to
you doing?
David, because
Nothing
of his
much.
dad.
Just chilling.
It's good,
Cool.
Smith. Oh, we're gonna make small talk. We are not gonna send him away. How mean! This is a
That
great
was one
song.
hell of a day, huh?
Yeah, but it was fun. Every day's fun. Even when we almost get ourselves killed. I never imagined it'd work out like this. That I'd get to go on an adventure with you guys.
Who would have thought, huh?
So, how long have we been friends now? Let's see, beginning of high school, so that's 5 years?
Yeah, but we've known each other way longer than that. Ever since elementary school, right?
Huh? You still remember that?
Could hardly forget being gawked at.
Well, you know, it isn't exactly easy being in the presence of royalty.
And when we did meet in high school, you pretended it was the first time.
Yeah, the first time I worked up the nerve to say something. Feels just like yesterday.
You should have said something sooner.
Oh, Nocts. You just wouldn't understand.
Aw.
Back then, I was... Actually, never mind.
Bless that sweet boy. Oh, we are gonna urge him.
Hey, you can't just stop halfway.
Yeah, I know. I used to be super shy. Couldn't talk to people. No surprises, but I had no friends. At least not real ones. I was always alone. And there were times when I felt, well, worthless.
We are gonna show interest because we're not terrible.
That's what's been bugging you?
I mean, when you look at me, you wouldn't think that I'm anything but a fun-loving, happy-go-lucky joker. But that isn't the real me. Behind all the quips and laughs, I'm a mess of hang-ups. I've always felt inferior to you guys. I'm not royalty, and I'm not strong. I'm nothing, really. Unlike Gladio, I'm not good with people. The way he connects with them, he's operating on a different level. Unlike Ignis, I'm not smart, and I can't cook to save myself. But when we hang out, it's so much fun. I forget what I'm not. Then reality hits me like a splash of cold water, and I remember that I don't belong. But I want to. Every moment, I'm desperate to earn my place, to prove that I'm good enough.
I love that. God, that phrase is so good. I forget what I'm not. Isn't that a great phrase, chat? Like, do you have friends that, like, when you're around them, you forget what you're not? Oh my God, that's good, right? Oh, it's good. We're gonna comfort him because this is a sweet moment.
Think what you will, but I think you're good enough for me.
So, you really think I'm doing okay?
Yeah, I do. Anything else?
No, nothing at all. I'm sorry I got so real all of a sudden.
You should know better by now. You think I just make time for any old loser?
Sweet.
What, you mad, bro?
You mad, bro?
Seriously, though. Thanks for making time for this loser. Feels good to get that off my chest.
Happy to hear.
All right, I'm gonna keep on keeping on the only way I know how.
Keep on keeping on.
You do that.
Isn't that so freaking good, chat? Isn't that so good? I love it for so many reasons, but I really do love that phrase. That when I'm with you guys, I forget what I'm not. God, just like,
morning.
Wow.
Morning.
It's so good. Good morning, everybody. Now we continue our drive. Quest location, Brave New World. Let's go, and we'll fast travel too. That's fun. Isn't that great? And you know, we do share that because relationships are a huge part of this game, and they're a huge part of a king's ascension story. The kings that lack the protector, the advisor, and the friend, the trusted friend, as well as the prophet, they're the ones that fail. They're the ones that fail.
I'll pretend I didn't
So,
hear that.
Don't be that way. It's different when a girl cooks for you.
What I love most about it, though, is, and this is what I tell my class, I don't want them to imagine David and Jonathan. I want them to imagine Noctis and Prompto. Because this is something they can kind of sink their teeth into here. Like, they can really kind of see these moments. And this is the kind of bond that these two share. And it's incredibly complicated because Jonathan is the son of Saul. And there's no getting around that. I think it's such a beautiful, beautiful sentiment. Okay, everybody, let's head on up here. And this will kind of conclude the relationships portion of the Ascension story for us. We'll still talk about relationships, but we are going to move heavily into responsibility after this stream, and then ultimately move into deliverance of order to chaos. And you always do deliverance of order to chaos through utilization, at least in sacral kingship, of the divine
Let's get a shot
attributes
with the
of the
lighthouse.
gods.
Hair blowing in the breeze. We'll be seaside supermodels.
Okay, let's do it.
Seaside supermodels it is then.
Oh yeah! Seaside
Every
supermodels.
earthly right to kingship, it also recognizes that authority stems from a higher one and gladly lets it pass over him for that reason. Yeah, and that's signified by his giving of those gifts, by the way, to David, which is kind of a cool thing, and it infuriates his father,
a shot from here.
Saul.
Good call. Now it's picture time.
It's picture time. Let's take this picture. It's gonna be so good. So good.
Let me get this shot.
Look at... Did Iris jump in this picture to block Gladio? Oh my gosh! She wasn't even around us and she jumped in and blocked him. Oh my gosh. Freaking Iris. Oh, well, I'm keeping that. That is peak Little Sister. Oh my gosh. How insanely in character is that? She is, oh my gosh. Just end me. End me. Does that parallel Cain and Abel? That's interesting. Let me go back to that. Oh, it inverts Cain and Abel. Hey, I like that interpretation of it. I really like that interpretation of it. Which is great stuff. I love that. We'll talk more about the ProfNoctis dynamic when we get to his DLC in several weeks. So there's that. And with that, chat, let's finish up this chapter, shall we? Once you depart, you lose access to the open world for a while, which we will definitely do. Okay, chat. Photobombing is a thing in this game. Oh my gosh. They're finally about to see each other for the first time in 12 years. How amazing. Waiting for you and Altisha. Be there as fast as I can. Got it. Oh, we're gonna be sweet, cute, and flirty. We gotta take every little bit of romance they give us, so. See ya, boy. Bye, Umbra. I guess he could ride the boat with us. This is the worst elevator. It's so dangerous, too. Like, just reach your hand out and, like... Ugh. Good pupper. Nope. Wrong button.
Look, ProfNoctis. Even the Marshal came to say goodbye.
Even the Marshal came to say goodbye? You mean Kor the Immortal? He's in town?
I guess it's goodbye for now. The regalia is already waiting below deck.
You loaded up my
She'll
car?
serve you as well across the ocean as she did here.
Bless you. Bless you all. Oh, we gotta read this. Cosmogony report. Ah, so here is the discussion of the Star Scourge. Or rotted soil under blighted sky, a dread plague the wicked have wrought. In the light of the gods, sword sworn at his side, against the dark, the king's battle is fought. From the heaven side of the blessed below shines the beam of peace long besought. Long live thy line and this stone divine, for the night when all comes to naught. Means not a lot to a lot of people, but we kind of had a long discussion about it in class where we talked about the Star Scourge as an analog for sin in a lot of ways in the manifestation, at least in the Old Testament days and early New Testament days, that sin created physical maladies. All right, let's do this. So we begin with the
Something
picture
gotta
of the
get off
four
my
guys,
chest.
right?
What's that?
Regis's party, Crown's Guard. Sam Smith. Such a great chapter.
I'm sorry. Sorry I wasn't there for your father.
Mm.
I swore an oath to protect the king, but I wasn't strong enough to uphold it.
Mm.
Ain't nothing nobody could have done to stop what happened.
Yeah,
I love this part.
I realize that.
But you need to realize just what you mean to the boys by your side.
Hmm.
I do.
Even if they can't solve your problems, you can't hide what's going on from them.
Hmm.
It hurts like hell.
Hmm.
Remember, those ain't your bodyguards. They're your brothers. Trust in them, always.
Hmm. I love that.
You can never have too many tools. Here, learn to wield not only weapons, but magic as well.
Oh, isn't that so good? These ain't your bodyguards, they're your brothers. And that is like the theme of this relationship component of the Ascension story. I have my class not only write a reflection paper on their trials in their lives, what's increased their, it's what's revealed their heart and who they are, their character, and how has that increased their reputation. But I asked them to write a reflection paper on their Crown's Guard. Who is their Ignis, their Gladio, their Prompto, and ultimately, who is their prophet? Who's their Luna that believes in them more than maybe they believe in themselves? This is a key part of that. I love it. Okay, let's get in the boat, maybe.
Waiting for an invitation? Get your asses on board.
Sweet moment done, by the way. Oh, look at him.
Hey, Your Majesty!
What's up?
Please, come back soon! We need our king!
Oh.
Yeah, count on it.
Oh. Bye, Iris. Bye, Talcott. Bless him. Bless him. And that's the end of the chapter, everybody. Oh, and we got to do some pictures real quick. So we'll do this. There they are playing Queen's Blood. We'll do some of that. Gladio running. We'll take that. Oh my gosh, that's an amazing picture. Prompto's definitely leveled up. I'm not interested in that. It's fine. We love that picture, though. Oh, look at that picture. We love that picture. Dear friends. And goodbye, Iris and Talcott. We'll take that picture, too. Oh, man, it's so good. It's so good. Okay, so before it's saving, and then we cut out. Boom. Okay, so let's chat before we head out. Watch your ears. Here it comes. 3, 2, 1. So before we head out, let's talk a little bit. Tonight has been all about relationships. We've talked about Gladio's relationship. We've talked a little bit about Prompto's relationship. We will talk about Ignis's relationship in just a few chapters once we hit that DLC as well. But for now, we've talked about trials and relationships. We're moving into a moment of responsibility and ultimately asking the question, how do you deliver order to chaos in the world? And that's really the role of a king, a sacral king. That they are divine agents who will bring order to chaos, like God brings order to chaos in Genesis 1. Chat, let me say this. This game changes significantly moving forward. It's going to become very story-driven. Every single time we stream, every time we play through these chapters, we're going to have some pretty important insights, and that begins in Chapter 9. Chapter 9 is very Luna-focused. We're going to be discussing a ton about Luna, a ton about what it means to be a prophet with a king. So make sure you check that out. That's going to be not next week, but the following week on that Tuesday. Also, that week is only going to be a one-stream week because I am going to PAX East on Thursday. So I'm going to be missing the stream that Thursday, but we'll be back with chapters 10 and 11, then 12 and 13 the following week, okay? Next week, be sure and check out Chronicles of Rebirth, because my impressions of Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 and some of my insights about what the game is doing are going to be up next week. Look for that on Monday and on Wednesday of next week, because we're going to get into a Monday Chronicles, Tuesday lecture play, Wednesday Chronicles, Thursday lecture play kind of mentality. I'm only going to do 2 a week because I am taking my time with this game of Rebirth. So anyway, well, everybody, I am going to check out. I hope that you have a fantastic night. Thank you for being in, and until next time, friends, I hope you will walk tall. Bye, everybody. Have a great night.